I think it's beyond reprehensible that the highest uniformed military officer is on the record or has testified to Congress about comparing January 6th to Nazi Germany. I don't see any way in which it is appropriate to talk about people who are protesting and compare them and analogize them to individuals that killed millions of Jews in Nazi Germany. I don't know that there is a more worse comparison that he could have picked.
The connection being made here was that this Reichstag fire in, of course, Nazi Germany, sort of, I guess, pre-Nazi Germany, was what gave Hitler the opportunity to consolidate power and basically take over.
No, I get what he thought he was trying to do, but what he was doing was inflaming the tensions of the media and panicking in his role and pandering to the incoming administration, because I believe the chairman was looking to keep his job. And that's not the role of the chairman. It's to provide military advice to the president. And comparing any movement in the United States to pre-Nazi Germany or Nazi Germany or otherwise is wholly appropriate for the chairman of the Joint Chiefs to be doing, period. He is politicizing the role as the highest uniformed officer in the land. It is supposed to be 100% apolitical.
It was also reported that he was concerned about a possible coup. So I guess sometime after the election, you were instructed to proceed with the transition of power. Were your instructions changed with respect to this at any point until January 20th?
No, and the instructions from the White House after the election were very clear. Proceed with the transition in full force. And there was no instruction that modified that at any point in time. And there was no instruction from the White House to talk about a coup or talk about President Trump staying in the Oval Office or utilizing the military to stay in the Oval Office. The instructions from the White House were very clear, and that was to transition the Department of Defense, which I was helping run at the time, to the next incoming administration. And we spent thousands of man-hours with a large group of individuals conducting interviews, setting up meetings, providing access to the Biden team for Pentagon spaces, giving them clearances. We produced millions and millions of documents for them to review, both classified and unclassified, so that America's #1 mission, its national security mission, could continue. Metric by metric, we engineered and ran the largest and most expansive transition of power from one DoD to another. And we are very proud of that. And if you look back at the media during the time we were conducting the transition, they were making political attacks at individuals responsible for leading it. What we cared about was the transition. And if you now look back at it, there's not one complaint at the Department of Defense as to how we handled the transition of power.
So this doesn't sound anything like the language about a coup that we heard a lot about in January.
Yeah, that language was unfortunately thrown around by military officers and the media and government officials as if it were actually happening. But anyone that was involved in the transition process knew that there was no possibility of a coup, and that was just inflaming the American public's view of the Department of Defense, I think improperly, and in contravention of what we were actually doing, which was running a transition. I also think when you throw around the terms coup and juntas and stuff like that, that's what happens overseas in other less civilized nations. And I go back to one of the first things we talked about, Jan, which was the reason that a uniformed officer does not run the United States military. The reason that a civilian runs the United States military. It's so that the military cannot be taken over and commandeer the White House. So I think there's a pretty big irony in some of the media narratives surrounding the coup.